Oh, over there.
Pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everybody. If I could, I would need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
A motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. If I could right now, I'd like to hold a moment of silence for Anna Marie Mencken, Central Squares Middle School student who passed away this week. We'd like to continue to ask people to keep their family in their thoughts and in their prayers. Okay, thank you for that. Next, we have open forum. Just going to read something here real quick. The Board of Education has set aside time as an opportunity for the community to address the board, to allow the public participation. A period not to exceed 30 minutes shall be set aside during the first part of each board meeting. Presentation should be as brief as possible. I have one blue card. If you want to come up, Sally, and speak.
Testing, testing. Does that work? You can put that right in your lap.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, I'm just wondering, this little girl that was killed this week, my son was the first class into that school, and at that time, the kids were not allowed to go walk down the driveway at all, and they either had to take the bus home or their parents or sitter pick them up, and that was the law. And I just think the town or someone around here could help. I mean, instead of sitting down in Walmart, why aren't they helping the schools? The police I'm talking about. I'm sure you know what I mean. You know, an hour a day? Or 2 hours, one in the morning, one at night. There's got to be somebody that can help. I don't know who. The state should, but we can't really decide that. But after all these years, our superintendent has been working on this for 8 years, trying to get the state to do something. Why aren't they? They can't be that busy. I mean, you folks all know, and I know that it's very sad. I just hope that something can get done. If we have to make phone calls, anything. I think we've got to get at it. I mean, he can't do all the work, right? That's all I got to say. Something has to be done.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for taking your time
Very good.
No, you're good.
and addressing the board. Okay, on to item D, special presentation to the board.
All right, so before Pearl hits play, so you've heard me talk about the budget, you've heard Maureen talk about the budget. I've been traveling around to different participation in government classes. Just like when I was a senior, an administrator or the principal would come around, same thing, participation in government classes, and talk about the budget and talk about anybody that's 18 years or older. So today, I was in one of the participation in government classes, and last week I was in 2 different ones. And the students, I don't have to sell them on anything because they are in those extracurricular activities. They are in those, whether it's sports or band, they're in those 26 plus college dual credit courses that the families don't have to pay anything for. So they fully understand that. They're part of our, great scores that we have. But the one thing that the students were really impressed with is the technology. So what I did to them was I said, I'm going to play this, And it is basically 200 pages of information about the school budget and all of the wonderful programs that you see listed on this little info chart into Notebook LM. And so Maureen and I thought, you know what? It's 9.5 minutes. Let's play this, because these bots aren't human beings, do a really good job summarizing the why and why people should come out and support the school budget. So on the flyers that we have, the red ones that say it's all happening here, when you scan the top right, which is basically that document right there, there's a QR code. In the original, this was just the one made for this meeting because you can't scan the screen from here. And the top right, there's a QR code, and that's what I scanned, and I held it so the students could hear that. I have gotten a really positive response from several parents saying that the whole podcast works because when they're in their car or they're going for a jog or a walk, they're able to just play it. So we'll do that for you right now.
All right, so let's jump into something that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds, especially if you're here in the Central Square School District. The proposed budget for the next school year, the 2025-2026 school year.
Yeah, the big one, we got it right here, and well, they're calling it investing in opportunity, protecting what matters, trying to really, make it clear what they see as the, the goal here.
Well, and I think the big thing that a lot of people are going to be focused on is right there in the, the headline is a proposed tax levy increase of 6.86%. And so I think a lot of people are going to be wondering, okay, what is that actually going to, what's going to get protected?
Yep.
What are the opportunities that are going to be invested in?
Right, and they do spend a lot of time talking about how, they really want to have a comprehensive and student-centered educational program, quote.
Yeah.
And I think what they're trying to say is, well, we're already doing a great job, and this is how we keep doing a great job.
Okay, so let's break down some of these exceptional opportunities. That's a quote from the budget proposal. And let's start with the academics and college credit stuff. One of the things that jumps out at me is they're talking about 26 different college level dual credit courses.
Yeah, and I think what's really important to understand about that is not only are there 26 of them, which is a huge number, that's a lot of different options for kids, but the district actually covers the tuition for those college courses. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge, a huge benefit both for the kids who are trying to earn college credit early, but also for families who are, thinking about the future and how much college is going to cost.
Yeah, and it's not all the same college, right? They've got a bunch of different partnerships.
Yeah, they've got a really wide range of institutions that they work with. Cayuga Community College, Onondaga Community College, SUNY, Oswego, and even Syracuse University with their Project Advance program, the ECPA program. And then of course you've got all the AP stuff too. So that's a lot of different ways that kids can get ahead.
And it's not just, butts and seats in the classroom, right? They've got distance learning options too.
Yeah, they actually highlight that they have over a dozen live distance learning courses. And so that, really opens up the landscape for education, in terms of maybe more niche topics or things that maybe they don't have the resources to teach in person, but they can offer through distance learning. And, they're touting their strong regions and advanced regions graduation rates. I think it'd be interesting to see, how those compare to other districts around the state, or even, just how they've been trending over the last couple of years if we had that data.
Yeah, that's a good point. Something to keep in mind. All right, so strong academics, opportunities for college credit, that seems like, are a real pillar of what they're trying to do. What about the arts? How are they doing on that front?
Well, the fine arts section gets a lot of attention in the budget, and they specifically talk about the Red Hawk Regiment, marching band, the parade band, and jazz ensembles, which, if you live in the community, you've probably seen these groups perform.
Yeah, they're definitely a big presence.
Yeah, they get out there, and then, it's not just the instrumental stuff. They also have over 100 students participating in the musical theater and drama program. So that's a lot of kids, that are really engaged in that, and that suggests a pretty strong, pretty robust programming there. And they talk about, student art shows and recognition at national and state levels for both music and visual art. So it sounds like, they're really doing a good job of cultivating, creative talent.
Yeah, it does sound like a very vibrant, arts scene there. All right, so for students who maybe aren't, looking to go to a four-year college right out of high school, maybe they're looking for something a little bit more career-focused.
Right.
What does the budget have to say about career and technical education?
So this is where we get into the CTE section, which is their career and technical education programs. And they point out that hundreds of students every year go to BOCES programs, which is, stands for Boards of Cooperative Educational Services. And what BOCES is basically a regional organization that provides shared educational programs and services to different districts. And they often specialize in this kind of hands-on career and technical training. And so the fact that Central Square is sending hundreds of students to these programs, really says something about how much they value those pathways.
Yeah, that's good to know what BOCS is. And these aren't just, these aren't just book learning, right? These are actual skills that kids are getting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They emphasize that students can earn industry certifications in things like the trades, healthcare, culinary arts, all these different areas where, having a certification can really give you a leg up when you're trying to enter the workforce.
Yeah.
And they also talk about the career center that they have right there in the high school where kids can get career counseling, and there's resources for job exploration, all that stuff.
Okay, so it sounds like they're really trying to, give kids a lot of different options based on, what their interests are and what their, post-graduation goals might be. What about athletics and just general enrichment activities? Those are really important parts of the school experience too.
Totally. They're very proud of the fact that they have over 800 student athletes at all different levels. So modified junior varsity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids who are involved in sports, which, teaches teamwork and discipline and all that good stuff.
And it's not just the sports teams, right? The enrichment piece of it, that probably covers a lot.
It does. They have a whole list of clubs and activities that they offer between the middle school and the high school, and it adds up to 47 different clubs and activities, which is a pretty amazing variety. Everything from academic clubs to social groups to, hobby-based things. And they also have after-school enrichment programs and co-curricular activities that are specifically designed to build leadership and teamwork skills.
So a lot of different ways for kids to, really expand their horizons outside of just the normal, classroom curriculum, which is so important, to developing well-rounded individuals. And then the last piece that they really emphasize in the proposal is student wellness and support, which in today's, educational environment feels incredibly important.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that they highlight is that they have mental health services in every single school building. So that, really signals that they're taking a proactive approach to student well-being. And they list all the different people that they have district-wide, school counselors, psychologists, social workers. They're really putting a lot of resources into the, social and emotional health of their students.
Which is so reassuring to see. And it's not just this, mental health side of it, right? They've also got academic support built in there too.
Right. They talk about one-to-one academic intervention and reading support in every grade level. So, that suggests that they're really committed to making sure that all students have the basic, the foundational skills that they need to succeed academically, and they're providing that targeted help where it's necessary.
So, when you look at all of this, the academics with the college credit opportunities, the thriving arts scene, the career and technical training, all the, athletic and enrichment programs, and the real focus on student wellness, it really does sound like a, comprehensive offering. But as we talked about at the top, maintaining this comes at a cost. So let's talk about that proposed 6.86% tax levy increase. What does that actually mean in terms of dollars for homeowners?
So the district estimates that 6.86% increase would bring in an extra $2.2 million in revenue. And to kind of help people visualize what that means for their own household, they put together this table that shows the estimated annual cost increase based on different home assessment values and different percentage increases.
Right. So, if you've got a home that's assessed at $100,000, the proposed 6.86 increase is estimated to be about $92 per year. If you've got a $200,000 home, it's $184 a year. $300,000 home, it's $276 a year. So, it's important to keep in mind we're talking about the total increase over the course of the entire year.
Exactly. And one of the things that they point out is the difference between, maybe going with a lower increase, something like 3% versus the 6.86% that they're proposing.
Yeah.
The difference for an individual homeowner might only be, maybe less than $50 in a lot of cases.
Right.
But collectively, that adds up to almost $1.3 million less that the district would be getting. And when you think about all the things that we just talked about, that's a lot of money.
That's a big chunk of change. So, what is driving the need for this specific level of increase? Why is 6.86? Why not something lower?
Well, they talk about how state aid has not been keeping up with the rising costs that they're facing. Yeah. And they specifically mentioned that this is partly due to the fact that, property values in the district have been going up. There's been an increase in local property, wealth. And so what happens is, as the local tax base grows, sometimes the formula for state funding, it adjusts in a way that actually ends up giving the district less state aid to cover their expenses.
So it's kind of a weird situation where a community that's, doing well and getting more prosperous can actually end up, struggling with funding because of that.
That's exactly the dynamic that they're describing, and they're very upfront about the potential consequences if this increase doesn't pass, or if they have to, settle for a lower increase like 3% or 5%.
Right.
Saying, that would lead to significant cuts in their revenue.
Right.
Which would mean, cuts to programs, cuts to staffing, all the things that we've been talking about.
And staffing's always a big piece of the pie, right, when you look at a school budget?
Oh yeah, huge. I mean, they say that 75% of their entire budget is going to staffing costs, and that covers over 750 people. Everybody from the teachers to the coaches to the aides, the counselors, the bus drivers, all the different support staff that, really make the school run. And so any, major cuts to the budget are going to have a direct impact on personnel.
Yeah, really underscores, where the bulk of the money is going and what the potential impact would be if they had to make those cuts. So, for our listeners who want to dig into this more or, share their own thoughts about this proposal, what are the important dates that people need to be aware of?
So they have a public hearing window coming up. It's going to be from May 6th to May 13th. And that's a chance for people to, really learn more about the budget, ask questions,
Yeah.
Share their feedback with the district. And then the big day, of course, is the vote, which is going to be Tuesday, May 20th.
And where and when can people vote on that day?
Polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. on May 20th at your local school within the district. And the best thing to do is to check the district website, www.cssd.org. They'll have all the specifics about, where to vote based on your address.
So to sum it all up, this proposed budget for Central Square for the 2025-2026 school year, it's all about, the district trying to maintain what they see as, the current, quality of education that they're providing to students. And they're saying that this 6.86% tax levy increase is what it's going to take to do that, especially given the, the challenges with state funding.
Yeah, and they really believe that this budget protects what matters most: our students, our programs, and our future. That's another quote. And so they're really looking for the community to support them in this, and to make sure that they can continue to provide the best possible education for their students.
So if you're listening to this and you want to really get into the weeds on this or get some more information, definitely go check out the district website, www.cssd.org. Or you can reach out to the district office directly. They're happy to answer any questions you might have. The more informed you are, the better prepared you'll be to, make your voice heard on May 20th.
Absolutely, and hopefully this, this deep dive has given you a good overview of the, the main points of the budget and what the district is asking for.
Yeah, and as you think about all of this, I'm curious, given all the different things that this budget supports, everything from academics and the arts to, career training and student wellness and given the financial, implications of this proposed tax levy, what do you think is the one piece of this budget that's going to have the biggest impact, positive or negative down the road for the students and for, the future of the Central Square School District as a whole? It's a big decision for the community, and so we encourage you to, really think critically about all of this. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, didn't cost a lot to have those two people do that because they were robots. So as I said, if you just come in, we used Notebook LM. We took hundreds of pages of budget information and other information of all the programs that we have, the one visual, and it created that in 30 seconds. And so that's where the students were like blown away in the high school that they were like writing down the name of Notebook LM because they were like, wait, those weren't real people that just did that. They're like, I want to do that with our fantasy football, is what some of the students were saying. But again, one mistake that it was made because it does research. It was kind of like ChatGPT. When you do research, most school budgets do take place in schools, but we pulled that out because of safety issues years ago with like sex offenders and whatnot coming on school grounds. So we do have 3 polling locations. We only had 2 last year. We increased it because of the construction that's going to be on the bridge in Brewerton. So Brewerton, again, they have their own. So all of Onondaga County votes at the Brewerton Fire Department. Everybody in West Monroe, Hastings, Central Square, Parish, vote for vote at the American Legion here at Central Square. And then the rest of the district, which is, Bernards Bay, Constantia, Cleveland, Amboy, and Vienna, they all vote at the VFW in Constantia. So the 3 locations, we had 2 before. With all the traffic, even in Constantia with that bridge, no one's going to have to cross the bridge to be able to go to vote where they need to go. So those 3. Just one quick thing again, I just will say this. This district has done a phenomenal job with the support of the board to recognize multiple career pathways. Every year we have kids that go into the military. We have more kids that graduate from Central Square, I believe in all of New York State, is a stat that I got from a recruiter, where kids are accepted into military academies, whether that's West Point, Annapolis, the Air Force Academy, than any other school when it comes to the academies. It's extremely difficult to get into an academy. And every year it seems like we have a student that gets in. That's unprecedented. But we also have students that get recognized at graduation. When I say stand up, if you're enlisting in the Armed Forces, ROTC, you see many of our students answer the call. Because this community, what binds us, all the different hamlets and towns and villages, is the number of people that go into the military, which our hats off to them, which is amazing. But we also have the college and career pathway, and we have the right into the workforce pathway. So when I came into this district, it was pretty much capped at 75 kids going to BOCES, CTE. Now we send, as you heard from these amazing robots, we send over 175 students, because you can't tell a kid whose heart and passion is to be an electrician or to be heavy equipment or to be a nurse. We can't do that. Sorry, we met the quota. Because gone are the days where the four-year colleges was the only pathway. That's not the case anymore. Micron, right down the road, but even without Micron, we've got technician jobs that are starting at $75,000, $80,000. All the superintendents have been invited. Micron is paying us to go to Manassas, Virginia, where the Micron chip location is. Very similar to what happened in Boise. We're able to go to the school districts in May to see how the enrollment skyrocketed, what they did for micro-credentialing, how they matched the courses to be able to provide pathways right to Micron. But they also talked about a lot of those jobs starting at $85,000, $90,000, that all they need is a 2-year degree. And you can get a 2-year degree from Central Square when you graduate from high school. So our goal is to have the military pathway, have the traditional 4-year college pathway, but have that pathway where kids can be successful that like to work in the skilled trades. And that's what we do, but it comes with a cost. And so the one thing that I like that they were able to pull, these bots were able to pull, is when you look at a house, if we were to go out, which I believe we really need to, at the tax cap of 6.86. We can't go above that, or you need a supermajority. But the tax levy cap is what the state in their formula puts out for every 800 plus school districts in New York, where they feel that they can afford that. Here's the problem with the tax cap in our district. We went 2 straight years without raising taxes at all. And when you do that, the state looks at that, the numbers go in to their formula, and it says the district is not financially strained, because if they were, they would have raised taxes. So that old saying, no good deed goes undone, this was during COVID. We had COVID money. You lose it or you use it or you lose it, and then the state took that money back at the end of last year. But we saw how the community was hurting and jobs were furloughed, so we didn't raise taxes 2 straight years. In doing that, there was about $4.6 million left on the table, but we did that. Then the next couple of years, we only went half the tax cap. And in doing that, the cap rises. So you may see other districts going out at a 2.5 or 3, but that's their tax cap because they always go to it. We didn't do that. And so our cap is 6.86. If we do that for a $100,000 house, it's an increase of $92, $184 for a $200,000 house. If we went out at 4%, which is right around where we were last year, it's about $54 or $108 for a $200,000 house. Not that much of a difference when you look at the average taxpayer, when you say, okay, we're not paying for school lunches anymore. We're not paying for breakfast. It's the difference of, $50 in that case, or to $100 if it's a $200,000 house. But here's the difference. It's the revenue. Instead of getting we got a 4% getting a 1.2 million. Now we're getting 2.2 million. Well, why do we need that? Well, when we were going out at half the tax cap or 0%, we were fortunate to be getting 5% or high 4% in state aid. When a district like ours gets $68 million in state aid, that's because our community doesn't have the tax property base like a Skinny Atlas or a Fayetteville Manlius. If you look to see how much money they get in state aid, it's minimal because they don't need it. Someone had told me that Skinny Atlas alone is like $3 billion for the house values and the taxes around that lake. They're not going to be reliant on state aid like a district like Central Square or the other districts in this community, and we're considered one of the wealthiest in this county. So when you look at the fact that now the state's only going to give us 2%, and they're kind of flirting with the fact that they may get up into the high 2s, that's still 2% less than what we're used to. And so we have to make that up, or we have to look at what those bots talked about and say, what are we not going to have? I don't want to be the superintendent that ever goes back to not having a police officer in those schools. For God forbid if something were to happen and we don't have someone that is trained to put that risk down. I don't want to be the superintendent to ever pull back the counseling at the elementary because we didn't have counselors before. And some of these kids, whether it's pandemic related or whatnot, but I see every CPS report that comes across, and the superintendents in the county said it's consistent, Tom, with what they're seeing of the stuff that these kids are traumatized and that they're going through. And so we need to have those counseling supports. I don't ever want to go back to charging kids where if Mr. Patch's family could afford the $380 of the college tuition for the 26 dual credit courses, but my family could not, we both get an A. He doesn't have to take that in college anymore, but I do. That's not fair. That's the haves and the have-nots. And there's no way I want to go back to what it was before when we had to say to kids, I know your dream is to be a carpenter, electrician, or a nurse, but we hit our quota of 75 and we can't budget for that. So we have good aid that comes back when we send kids to BOCES, but you got to come up with the money up front. And so there are a lot of things that take place during the school year that we need to have some cushion in that budget because you don't know. You could have a teacher that's out with a terminal, life-threatening illness where we got to pay somebody else to come in and replace them while they're out using sick leave, or an administrator. So you never really know what could happen. So the 6.86 stays in theme to what we've said. If the state gave us more money and we did not need to go and pass the hat, then we wouldn't. But now, because we didn't do that for so many years, the tax cap is so high, and the state's basically saying, well, we looked back at your last 7, 8, 9 years. You're not going to the cap, so you're not fiscally strained. So I think it's important that the community does realize where that money is going. So we're doing our best effort right now to really let them know the biggest bang for their buck, what the return on their investment is. He said I could share it. Former board president made a comment to me that we've saved them $50,000 because his daughter's at University of Buffalo, and all of those dual credit courses went there. And so that's a lot cheaper. And they're not even paying for that now. We paid $380, but it's probably like $4,000 or $5,000 when you take that same course taught by a college professor on a college campus. So when I say this to elementary parents, they're like, wow, we had no idea. We had no idea that we have all those opportunities. We just recognized Eli Connor at our concert for being recognized one of the most outstanding voices. He's going to have scholarship offers. He's only a junior right now, but that kid's going to be set when it comes to college opportunities. We have Cole Mulhauser, phenomenal wrestler, that for a little while was ranked #1 in the country at Princeton for wrestling. So we want to be able to have kids come through Central Square, whether you go to Stanford, Tristan Rice just recently did, or you're someone that goes to OCC to try to find their own way and then find their niche, or for those kids that say, I'm done with schooling after I get my 2-year associate degree when I graduate from Central Square, right in Central Square, taught by Central Square teachers that are accredited by universities and colleges that we paid to do that. I'm going to go make $90,000 at Micron. I don't need to move away from where my family lives to find jobs because people are coming here. And if people don't know yet, I highly encourage you to look what took place in Boise and in Manassas, because we won't have a brain drain anymore in this county or in Central Square. You're going to drive down these roads in 3, 4, 5 years, and it's going to look like Township 5 in Camillus. You're going to have hotels. You're going to have restaurants. You're going to have places of business. You're going to have beautiful developments. It won't be long before what you see, that field that was supposed to be the dirt track, amazing, of New York State next to the middle school, it's going to be developed. People are coming here because we're only 6 miles from right here from the Micron location. This is going to look very different. And so what I'm really thrilled with is the opportunities for kids. So we just wanted to put that out there. I want to thank Maureen again for a wonderful, budget and helping us plan for this, and for the administrators sitting at that table right there and in their seats, because they played a key role saying we want to put a budget out, but we want to be able to maintain what we have with these reading programs because the scores show that it works, and we're not ready. Just because the pandemic is over, we're trying to make up a lot of those gains socially, emotionally, and academic. So I thank you all for allowing me to say all of that, because it is a big deal. And those students asked amazing questions. I've got one more class to go to tomorrow. But we've already had like 15 or 17 kids that are signed up. And Mateo, you can really help us out too, because you play a key role with a voice. You have students that come to you all the time about great things. That and the budget go hand in hand. And so seniors may have siblings, may have relatives, or may choose to raise a family here. Look at this board right here. Many of them graduated from Central School and they're raising their families here. So we'll take all your help as well, which you're probably already going to talk about that when you do my report, right? Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Yep.
Okay, any questions? No? That's all you close to hitting that button. All right, if I could I get a motion for item E in its entirety?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor? Could I get a motion for item F, consent agenda in its entirety?
I'll second.
Oh, who made the motion? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, on to item G. Mateo. If you could do both the superintendent's and your report, that would cut this meeting down by a half an hour.
Okay. I apologize if anything is repetitive since I wasn't here last time, but the Science Society and STEM Club are having a promising year so far. Congratulations to freshman Henry Thorne, who placed at the Science and Engineering Fair for his project on electronics. And congratulations to freshman Quinn O'Hearn, who made it to national qualifiers for the anatomy. Congratulations to senior Gianna Rabia, who had the overall highest score of the season as a returning member of math team, and to sophomore Kaylee Merritt, who had the overall highest score of the season as a new member. Congratulations to the following DECA members who qualified to attend the International Career Development Conference in Orlando, Florida in April. Cadence Graham, Emma Lacey, Zachary Card, William Card, Chloe Sheehan, Avery Sheehan, Andrew Landis, and Andrew Card. Congratulations to Leah Burnham on becoming a 2025 Scholastic Art Writing Awards winner, Awards National winner. Her ceramic and textile piece, Geraldine, was awarded a gold medal as well as an American Visions Medal. Leah's piece was given this special recognition for her exceptional work in mixed media. Her work was selected by some of the foremost leaders in the visual arts for excellence in originality, skill, and the emergence of a personal vision. Leah's work will be published in an online gallery at artandwriting.org and will be celebrated at an awards ceremony at Carnegie Hall in New York City in June. Congratulations and good luck to junior Eli Connor, who was selected to participate in the NAFME Eastern Division All-Eastern Honors Chorus this upcoming 24th through 26th. The event will take place at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut, featuring sessions and events for music educators. Congratulations and good luck to Drumline, who head to Dayton, Ohio this upcoming April 10th through 12th to compete in the WGI World Championships. This is the first time in Central Square history that the Drumline is attending this amazing event. This Sunday, April 6th, was the opening and award reception for the Oswego County Student Show and Competition. Paul V. Moore High School had 33 students in grades 9 through 12 submit artwork. The competition is divided into 6 different categories for judging: painting, drawing, mixed media and printing, photography, digital art, sculpture, and fine craft. Grade levels are divided into 7th through 9th and 10th through 12th. Freshman Haley Gopelt was awarded first prize of $75 in the 7 through 9 drawing category. Junior Madison Stevens was awarded third prize of $25 in the 10 through 12 painting category. Emma Rubar, also a junior, received third place and first place in the 10th through 12 mixed media and printmaking category, resulting in $100 rewards. And 11th grade Hannah O'Neill won first place in the 10 through 12 painting category in the Jurors Award for Best in Show. Hannah was given $200 in awards. I'll pass around now a photo provided to me by Ms. Stats of Hannah standing next to her artwork. The Paul V. Moore Art Department is thrilled with the number of outstanding art pieces accepted into the show and super impressed with the number of awards that our students received. Congratulations to them all. And just a couple things going on. The American the American Red Cross Blood Drive will take place on April 29th. So for those of you interested in donating, feel free to let me know, and I can put you in contact with Student Government's Officer of Community Service, Shelby Nickerson, who can help you to schedule an appointment. And then lastly, good luck to former student representative Matthew Stevens, who recently announced that he will be running for village trustee in Central Square. And that's all from me for today. Thank you.
That one little part that he didn't do. He did everything else.
All right, you can go.
All right. Mateo, awesome job. There's just one piece. Leah Burnham. So Leah Burnham is a 2025 Scholastic Art and Writing Awards national winner. Her ceramic and textile piece, Geraldine, was awarded a gold medal as well as an American Visions medal. Leah's piece, he said that one? Yeah. Wow, he said that one as well. So I will say this. My only piece that I will add on to that is just how proud her teacher was when she came down to share this, because it is such an honor. So she'll then be able to go to New York City at Carnegie Hall to be able to showcase this. That's our second student that has received such an amazing award.
Is the work on display here at the school?
Yes, it is. Yep. Unless they've moved it to that it's down there, but it was in that main area where everyone can walk through. Because I remember tweeting it out. I took a picture. It's that picture right there. Yeah. Well, with that, I want to thank Mateo because, again, he's done a phenomenal job.
He's better than the bot.
He's better than the bots. Yeah. But the last thing I'll say is everything that Mateo read is, again, a perfect showcase of all of the things that we do have really special going on in the district. So you really summarized all of that. Thank you, Mateo.
Okay, and I skipped over. Does any of the board members have anything to talk about, or they would like to talk about?
Sure. So just to give everybody an update on the City BOCES Board of Education, Jeremy Belfield was appointed as our next district superintendent. And he will be replacing Chris Todd, who is retiring effective April 18th. And that's really the only update I had for now.
Thank you. And thank you for your role in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk about our meeting with the state senator you want me to do it? Sure. You can do it, if I miss anything. Christy and I attended, we'd gotten letters from the state senator, Chris Ryan, and we met with him for an hour last week to talk about the different issues. I thought it was a very good meeting. We talked about budget, we talked about Micron, And I think, and this kind of rolls into the Oswego County BOCES, what they're doing in Onondaga County, as far as Micron, is unbelievable as far as the opportunity. So I've talked to Tom about it a little bit, but I'd really like to explore, because I don't think that Oswego County BOCES is going to be able to catch up in 4 years. And so what that equates to, I believe, is that the freshmen that are right now are not going to have the same opportunities as the kids that are going Onondaga County BOCES. So I know Tom and I have attended a couple of meetings where Micron really likes where you're doing shared resources. So I think Tom is going to, when he goes down for his visit down to Micron, talk with Onondaga County BOCES superintendent, the new superintendent, to see if there's a way to get so that our kids would be able to have that opportunity as Oswego gets going. And I think that ultimately, if he comes against, some pushback, I think that, we'd really have to get, the new senator involved, because it's just not, they have clean rooms and academic programs and
Access to Lockheed Martin.
STEM camps. He rattled off in all of these things, and that was the big thing that floored me, is that we are not, we are nowhere near that. So, and I think it's unfair to be able to bring the new superintendent in and say you got 3 months to fix the last 4 years of stuff not getting done. So, with that in mind, I think that it would be, more to follow in the summer, but I think that, having opportunities for our students to be able to attend those things in Onondaga County BOCES would be a good thing to do. So, and did they capture everything, Christy?
I think you did, and I think the only thing that I would add is, as Steve spoke to, getting these opportunities for the students is paramount. What we have to do to think outside the box and creatively come up with strategic ways to, accommodate that, that's where we'll have to go if we can't come to some agreement to allow the students to go to the other programs while ours are being built. And that said, in my mind, as much as we can't expect him to fix 4 years in 3 months. I think the task is there, that it needs to be fixed ASAP. So whether it takes 4 months or 6 months, it can't take 4 years, So we got to get up to speed as quickly as possible.
Also, another thing to take into account is, obviously there'll be an interim at BOCES for a little bit. And that might be a nice little bridge for you, because I believe it is the superintendent from Onondaga County.
Yep.
So, that would be kind of nice while he is your interim superintendent to try to, yeah.
Yeah, and I
absolutely.
think that really, in whatever strategic planning that they came up with and whatever paperwork that they have, that they, all we got to do is run it through, ChatGPT, and I think we could come up with a good, long-term, some notebook stuff. But it just really, it was unbelievable what he was describing, that the opportunities that they have in place right now, kids are going to be going to. It was remarkable, and I want to have our students have the same ability to go through, and it's a lot. So.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's sad that our Oswego County legislators don't feel the importance of getting involved like Onondaga County has. They're sitting on their hands, not doing anything.
I will say this. So Onondaga County has a county executive, Ryan McMahon. Oswego County doesn't have. They have a legislator. So some things are a little bit different. But to your point, it's what can they do to prepare more, 100%. I do want to say there are opportunities here. The one person that really is being showcased by Micron is Will Appleton. He's a Central Square student that did P-Tech. And so he was the first one to get a paid internship. And they're like fighting to get him at a really high paying job right out of here. So those opportunities are there. But yeah, to your point, we need to do some serious catch up.
Well, and then the only other thing you said, the interim is from Onondaga County, but so is Jeremy. So, so it should be, and I understand he's the superintendent at Lafayette, and he has his own job, but hopefully eyeing his future, he's already laying the groundwork in those relationships to let them know, look, I want to hit the ground running in Oswego County, so I want to have these programs, I want to have the outlines for what these programs are at OCM BOCES so that I can, hit the ground running. Yeah.
The nice thing with Jeremy is he comes in with his children already enrolled into the PTEC program. So, I mean.
He lives in Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, but us parents, we're setting our kids and we see the shortfalls and we see, like, him being a superintendent in Onondaga County and then his children attending BOCES, PTEC, he can see, compare and contrast what the shortcomings are. So I think, it'll be nice. I do think that he is kind of already eyeing some of our shortfalls.
Yep.
Is he going with you to Manassas?
I don't know. I can't answer that
Okay.
because we're going in May, and I don't know when he's going to be able to get out of his current district.
But he's Onondaga County. I mean, could he not be going
The
just for?
only people that are going are Oswego County.
Oh, okay.
Onondaga County already went 2 years ago.
Okay.
We're 2 years behind.
Right.
No fault of any of the superintendents in this county, because
Right.
we've been pushing
Right.
for Micron. When my kids get to go to a chip camp, or Syracuse University puts all this stuff on, but the kids in this county didn't have that same opportunity, that's at no fault. We all tried, but now we're gonna make some moves.
Right, good. But I do think if it hasn't been considered, I do think that they should see about him going. I mean, it would make perfect sense for him to go.
Yeah, and it's not, to me, it's not a duplicating of services, but it's opening up. If you can take care of A and B, then Oswego County can take care of C and D, right? And we can go, because it kind of aligns with us, giving opportunities for the students to be, to have a different cultural experience, and if they're going, it falls within our goals, but I think that avenue has to be opened up, and it's, if it doesn't make sense to open up a clean room, if they already have one and they have space for 60 and there's only 40 kids and we can put 20 kids there. Personally, I don't care where the $13 million goes to, and.
Right.
But I'm glad you're saying this here, because the one thing that the state is saying is regionalization. That is the textbook definition of regionalization, to say, if they've got Lockheed Martin programs for Onondaga County, we're literally 5 miles away from that, but these kids can't. If the state doesn't allow us to open that up, then they're being hypocritical on what they're trying to accomplish.
Well, and to Steve's point, it's not like we're saying we just want to go take advantage of their programs, because we're going to be building programs here. And so if we're building C and D, then they should be coming for C and D to Oswego County, and
This is
so
what
on and so
Micron
forth.
has finally recognized. The majority of people that will work for Micron will live in the Central Square district in this way, because this is where the available land is. So if they're going to try to entice people to come in and say, this is a beautiful place, well, how is that school district? What are the courses that they're offering? What are the opportunities for them? Because they're going to probably be in the same type of career pathway that their parents are. And so it just behooves them to catch us up.
Okay. No, it was good. I felt pretty positive coming out of it. We'll see, we'll hold his feet accountable. We'll see how it goes. Okay. We're going to H, but I'm gonna ask.
You got that resolution, make sure you get that.
Yep, I'm gonna get that after we get through our last roll call. So I'm gonna ask Dave to make the motion as to whether or not we're gonna have these all together, or you want them separate? Okay, all right. And can you get a second? Okay, so we'll make a motion. The motion is for 77420. Is there any discussion about sports and athletic program approval? Second reading? All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, thank you. And then could I get a motion for 7554? Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Then could I get a motion for 7555? A second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, on to H2, approval of library tax proposal. Roll call vote. So, you want to do the roll call?
We need to make.
Yeah, I'm sorry, make
I'll
the
make
motion.
I'll make the motion for H2. Do we have to read it, Pearl? Okay.
Get a second? Okay, thank you. Okay,
Steve Patch,
yes.
Christy Fishman,
Yes.
Allison Douglas. Brian Mather. Yes. Ken Sherman,
Yes.
Dave Tackman. Yes. And Lori Wood.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I get a motion for H3, approval of an overnight student trip?
All motion?
Any discussion? All those in favor? H4, approval of resolution for destruction of ballots from the May 21st, 2024 annual budget vote and election. Can I get a motion?
All motion?
Second? Any discussion? Okay, Pearl?
Steve
Ro-
Patch,
Yes.
Christy Fishman,
Yes.
Allison Douglas. Yes. Brian Mather. Yes. Ken Sherman,
Yes.
Dave Tackman. Yes. And Lori Wood. Yes, thank you.
Okay. H5, adoption of the proposed 2025-2026 school district budget proposal.
All motion?
Second? Pick one, Pearl.
Steve Patch,
Yes.
Christy Fishman,
Yes.
Allison Douglas. Brian Mather. Casey Murray. Ken Sherman.
Yes.
Dave Tackman. And Lori Wood. Yes, thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion for H6?
All motion?
Get a second? Ken, any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. H7, approval of the revised transportation proposal for the 2025-26 budget vote and election. Get a motion?
All motion?
Second?
Second.
You're up, Pearl.
Okay, Steve Patch.
Yes.
Christy Fishman.
Yes.
Allison Douglas. Brian Mather.
Yes.
Casey Murray. Yes. Ken Sherman.
Yes.
Dave Tackman. Yes. And Lori Wood. Yes, thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to read a resolution, right, Pearl?
Yes.
And ask for a motion.
Do you want to just make the motion, Steve, while you're reading it?
Yep, I'll make the motion. Resolution. After reviewing the appeal of a student's disciplinary hearing, the Board of Education of Central School District makes a motion to accept and uphold the findings and decisions of the superintendent's hearing from an incident happened on March 27th, 2025. The Board of Education met on April 7th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. and determined the following, that it will stay in effect. I get a
All right,
second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. I think that's the end. Can I get a motion for item I, adjournment?
All motion?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Yes. Oh, I'll shut that up.